Welcome to the New York session for Tuesday, the 13th of February 2024. Starting off with the economic calendar, we have significant trade folder news in the form of CPI. So if you are in any trades, I'd suggest that you close them out and wait for the CPI news release and then try and fade the news release accordingly. If the CPI news release is positive, for the USD we can anticipate shorting GBPUSD, and if it's negative we can if it's positive for the USD, we can anticipate shorting GBPUSD, and if it's positive, and if it's negative for the USD, then we can expect longing GBPUSD. However, having said that, let's look at the London session. As you know, essentially, going into the London session, we had some GBP news, and that was positive, which then meant that only longs for the day were validated. Having said all of that, let's quickly jump into the charts and then unpack what had happened. So as you know, we're in a bearish market trend confirmed at the time of the Frankfurt Open, which was right around right here, this bullish candle right here. There was reasons to trade both longs and shorts because we had the pullback phase validated, as well as a pro trend 4H primary leg that was validated right here. However, subsequently, as you can see, the positive GBP news resulted in this 4H primary OB. So perhaps I should just mark out what it is. Associated with the 4H pro trend primary leg that actually failed, which invalidated any shorts, and now that we're in this large pro trend 4H OB, and the reason why I'm using the whole OB is because it's the last candle that put in the high associated with this level. We also have that large window of imbalance. So as a result of that, on the 15 and 5 minute, we can actually validate the 4H primary legs. However, at the same time, what we do need to note is the fact that the pullback phase has potentially achieved its target, and as a result, any counter trend plays based on the pullback phase requires 4H OB backing, which will be served by this level right here. So I'm going to mark this as the last point of supply pullback phase, and in order to take any further long trades, we will need price to come into this area in order to validate appropriate backing, and then obviously have IRL, because now we're trading into the pro trend extreme that are marked pro trend confirmed extreme. And as a result of this, there's only reasons to short for the New York session. If we quickly just glance at the London session, because going into it we had reasons to both long and short, we didn't know that this was going to be a body break. So what we did know is that the pullback phase secondary leg was at play in the morning, and as a result of that we were considering longs. However, what we did have to take into account, which I may have omitted in my London outlook, but I'll mention it now, is the fact that this pullback secondary leg was validated yesterday, and this POI, although valid, was associated to yesterday. So in order to validate any of these POIs to trade from, we needed the 4H secondary leg to be extended in the current day, which it was. However, what you can see is that price didn't pull back significantly, although it did pull back, the issue was, if we look for a POI where we could trade from, there isn't really any situated here, and the window of imbalance doesn't really align with our 38% level right here, so there wasn't really any opportunity to get in long. However, our bias for the London session was correct, and that was pretty easy to get right because we knew what the unemployment news was, and we had GBP supports for longs. However, now going to the New York session, given that we've passed the lull endpoint, I wouldn't take any trades. I do, however, know that what does make sense from this point onwards is to actually begin validating the pro trend primary leg. Remember, this is now the pro trend primary leg, as we are outside of the only reason why we had pro-trend secondary legs right here is because we validated this pro-trend primary leg right here as a result of the shock. However, now we've got pro-trend confirmed for HOB to support any short ideas, and thus any 15-minute, 5 or 30-minute validations will result in the creation of a pro-trend primary leg. At the moment, what we can see is we have a lull high of the day, and this high of the day can potentially be validated by CPI news, which is right here. Um, Obviously, we'll need we need US CPI news to be positive for the USD, and that will drive GBPUSD to the downside. Provided this high of the day holds, it can potentially be validated by CPI, and then the next thing to monitor is whether we have appropriate daily range remaining after the initial CPI news release, because what tends to happen is that we actually get these huge moves which use up majority of the daily range, and then we from that point we pretty much are unable to trade for short continuations. Having said that, perhaps just to summarize my New York outlook, essentially only looking for shorts, because in order to trade long we need 4HOB backing, and the 4HOB backing is right here, which is quite a distance away. And then the other alignment we require, because we can only shorts, is that CPI news needs to be positive so that we can validate either the lull high of the day or some sort of New York high of the day. But remember, the news release or the high of the day must be created at the time of the news release, or the high of the day must already be created and the news release must validate it. And then in terms of the London range that we can potentially look for New York to validate the London range, we have this area right here which we'll monitor quite closely. So I will set an alert right here to say that the London range low has been swept. And then obviously I'll be monitoring the charts quite closely as the CPI news is released. So this is London range low swept. Okay, so that's pretty much the New York outlook, and we'll chat again for the end of day review.